piece isn't meant to startle, it's meant for people who are ready to discover. In fact, I never do a work where everybody stops and notices it in a public place. I want at least 50% of the people to be able to walk through it without noticing it, without hearing it.
Max Neuhaus is probably the pioneering artist who worked with sound in the post-war era. No one has the history or longevity, nor has had the influence that Max has had so far.
I work with Max Neuhaus in New York, and I helped him put together the project in Times Square, the reinstallation of a piece which had been installed in the 70s, but he turned the piece off when he went to live in Europe.
I started growing this beard in Vietnam. See, I'm an audio person. It's audio people listen to different things in sound than a normal person. I'm always hearing the things that don't belong there. I hear all the mistakes.
Max has given us ways to think about other sounds, synthetic sounds, complex, human-produced sounds in new and unexpected ways.
We're in the heart of Times Square, actually in an underground vault, which is part of the subway ventilation system. It's the location of the equipment for my sound work here. Here comes a train right now, as a matter of fact. What delighted me was, in fact, these short tunnels over here, because each one has its own resonance and is a little different in length. The sound that's heard on the surface here isn't just the sound that I'm putting in here. It's what the sound does to this chamber. Right now we're going to make that sound come out of my computer so that I can choose a mix and a level. Tell me when it gets to 1.75 volts RMS.
2.8. Hello? 4.9.
I've had a hard time trying to explain Max to people. All I can say is Max makes audio sculptures. That's my way of describing Max's work. You kind of get to walk through this three-dimensional audio thing that Max creates.
You probably wouldn't call this a wall of sound as much as you might call it a column of sound, because it's within the entire space of the grate, and different things happen when you stand in different places on the grate, because there is a certain architecture to the space underneath the street, and the sounds resonate in different ways in different spots. People don't like the word permanent at all, but the piece will be in Times Square for until someone turns it off, which we hope will be never.
Dia's role will be to maintain and overlook the piece, to keep it in good condition, more or less in perpetuity.
Most sculptors work with the eye, changing form, color. I come around the side and go in the ear. We perceive place or space just as much with the ear as we do with the eye, but what the eye perceives is much more conscious and, of course, concrete. And what the ear perceives is immaterial. But in fact, that in many ways makes it more powerful. The name of the work is simply Times Square. It wasn't really thought out. That became the way I referred to it. The island, of course, is triangular because we're at the intersection of two main avenues in New York, Broadway and 7th Avenue. I mean, when you think of that often during the day there are 1,000 people an hour which cross this grating. But the remarkable thing really about this island is it's deserted. It's a deserted place in this most intense and expensive and precious real estate.
It's in a place that's almost anti-art and anti-thinking. You know, it's a situation where you try and tune out sound. It's very specifically in Times Square, it's quite perverse actually to make a piece that's about this subtle sound and this really chaotic sound mess. It's not recorded sound, it's sound that he creates using the computer based on the different frequency of trucks, horns, people, what he calls the oral landscape.
The sound in these works is not the work, it's the sight which I transform into something else with sound. So it's very much different than a place I build in a museum or a place I build in the woods, or it's the epitome of urban place. Right now, in the middle of the day, in the middle of Times Square, it's subtle. But if you come here at 7 o'clock at night when the buses are gone and the tourists are gone, it's overwhelming. So it's in the same way that a piece of physical sculpture changes with light. This piece changes with its acoustic surrounding, its aural surroundings.
For me, Max's greatest achievement is opening up a whole new area of art practice related to sound, not to music, and to sound as a visceral and physical phenomenon as much as an oral one. Max's analogy for the sound of the Times Square piece is the after ring of a large bell. I think that puts it very well.
Once you hear this tone, it's real hard to get it out of your head. Even when it's turned off, you still hear it. It's psychoacoustics. It's voodoo, it's witchcraft. Or, from Max's point of view, it's art.